welcome. This is the downward dog material from the level 2 training course. So first thing we want to look at is the height of the swing. We brought it down a notch on each side from classical inversion height. So you will find when you do that, the swing is around about mid-thigh level, so midway between the knee joint and the crest of the pelvis there. So that should work quite well for most people. Now take hold of the swing, open the hands to just about hip width, slightly wider than the hips, and begin to walk forwards until you feel the swing pulling back against the thighs. Then do a forward fold over the swing material, and your body weight now should keep it in place. You can let go with your hands. Yeah? So the first posture we're going to do in this sequence is we're going to do Uttanasana. So we're going to bring the hands up and push into the mid-thigh area, extending the spine forwards, body into like a right angle in this position. And what we're going to do is I'd like to use this as a potential posture for people to center themselves over their feet. So what I'll encourage people to do is lift the big toe up and then place it down, and lift the foretoes up, place it down. Get a sense for balancing over these 3 points. So the heel, the ball of the big toe, and the ball of the little toe. Yeah, so finding the midpoint between those, that sort of triangle base. And then we're more centered over the feet. When people have done that, they can place all the feet down, all the toes down. From Uttanasana, we're going to bend the knees and come into what we would call a floppy fold. So the knees bend, the belly comes closer to the thighs, grab the elbows, the head lines up with the arms, keep the weight centered over the feet. Should also say in this sequence, we're not taking you through specific timings. We're more interested in showing you some of the different options that you can do from a particular base position or base sequence. So this is the downward dog sequence. So you would structure and you would time these postures as long as you wanted to use them, how you wanted to use them. So from here, we're going to place the hands down, walk back into downward facing dog. Yeah, that's it. So your classical V shape. Most people will find this quite enjoyable because the swing is pulling back, isn't it, on the legs. So it's taking a bit of the pressure, a bit of the effort out of the arms and the upper body. So this is it's a very sustainable version of downward dog, meaning people could hold downward dog for much longer than they might ordinarily be able to hold it. We can also do, we're threading the needle here, so if you bring the right hand through between the left hand and the left foot, that's it, push strongly into the outside edge of the left foot and the outside edge of the right foot, that's it, maintain the posture, gentle rotation, shoulder opener. And then we'll do that on the other side. Again, you would, just to mention again, you would choose the timings in your own classes. These are not meant to be example timings. Okay, another pleasant thing you can do here, so when coming back into downward dog, is we're going to bring the shoulders forward, so the shoulders come over the wrists. So we bring you can bring the hands back. I prefer to bring the shoulders forward, so we just bring the shoulders up, that's it. Now, turn the fingers back towards the toes, yeah? That's it. Yeah, fingers back towards the toes, and we're going to do a wrist stretch. I would just bring the shoulders a bit more, walk forwards if you need to. That's it. So the shoulders directly over the wrists, and very strong wrist stretch. What you can also do is just move the hips from side to side in this position slightly, so you take the stretch across the wrist area. Yeah, and sometimes people might need to go a little bit wider with their feet, so they might need to get a bit more width in their base so they can get this kind of windscreen wiper movement. Yeah? So that's wrist stretch number 1 with the fingers turned back to face towards the toes. Wrist stretch number 2, come onto the back of the hand with the fingers facing in. And then the movement I would suggest here is more like a rolling pin movement, so bringing the body weight backwards and forwards. It's a small movement, and you would not force people to do this. If these are not comfortable stretches or manipulations for people, then obviously you would not force anybody to do these. But they are usually quite pleasant because, again, the swing is helping to support part of the body weight, so and encouraging this sort of range of movement that you can do. Okay. Then we're going to go back into downward facing dog again, so turning the hands back around, and we're going to do a final wrist mobilization. We would call this wrist circling. So if you look back at your toes, and then you lift your feet up to about hip height and cross one ankle over the other. Yeah. Now you might slide back, it's fine, it's fine. So you're crossing one ankle over the other in order to just make the legs a bit more solid and a bit more stable as a unit behind you. And then you're going to do a circling movement now. So you're going to come forwards, out to the side, that's it, yeah. So you're going to circle around. So it's like a shoulder circling, shoulder mobilization, but also wrist mobilization. People do also like these movements where they feel kind of lighter and freer in their movements. Yeah, so you can do that in one direction and then back in the other direction. You could have the feet a little bit higher. Some people might be comfortable with the feet a little bit higher. And then an easy transition from here would be to push back into downward dog arms. So push back until the shoulders are back of the wrists, that's it. Cross the ankles are still crossed, lift the feet up to about hip height. The issue here, if you lift the feet too high, then there is a potential danger for the swing to slide down your legs. So hip height, a little bit higher than hips is fine, but if you lift them really high, potential for the swing to slide. So we've lifted them a little bit higher than the hips, and now we're going to wag the tail. The legs of the tail, we're going to wag from side to side. Get a nice lateral stretch, nice opening for the intercostals. Strong use of the arms. So the arms are working quite strongly in this position, so you're not lifting the hands off the floor as you go from side to side. And then another option, if we can transition here into like a standing split. So if we unwrap the legs, and then watch this, wrapping the feet around the outside of the swing. So we go outside and then back in. Could you just show us that one more time? Because I think it's important to see. So we go outside and then back in. And hold the swing with the toes, curl the toes around. Okay. Downward dog with the upper body. Now we're just going to lower the right leg down towards the floor. We need to be able to get the toes on the floor so we can use the leg as well as the arms to support the posture. If that's possible, then we can slide the other foot, the left foot, a little bit higher. And the final thing we do is we press inwards with the left foot. So we push in against the swing material because there will be a tendency for the thighs to open outwards in this posture. The swing will be pulling the left thigh out, so we're resisting that by pressing inwards with the left thigh and really engaging the right leg and both arms strongly. That's great. And then if you can see that from this side as well, so if you change legs, that's it. Yeah, that's a good point. One thing I would say in here is it's difficult for a lot of people to do this transition by keeping the other leg on the floor. So the way Agni did it, if you could just show us that again, it's easier to change sides by having both legs lifted and then putting one in and taking the other one down. Yeah. Rather than trying to do it from all the way down the floor. That's it. So then she slides it up and pushes in with that right thigh. Yeah. So we've got strong back legs, strong arms, pushing inwards with the back, with the suspended leg, the right leg in this case. Yeah. Okay. And then we're going to come down from there. We'll come into downward facing dog. Yeah. And we can come out of that sequence the same way. So we can walk forwards into a floppy fold. And then rather than coming up in one rapid movement, we can just lift up into Uttanasana again, push against the thighs, lift the head up to about hip height, looking not straight down at the floor, but slightly forwards, but down at the floor. So I'm not suggesting you do all of those postures in one sequence. That's a long time to have the swing pressing into the top of the thighs, but that's just to give you an idea of some potential postures. We also just want to briefly show you upper body. So you can do upper body from here because you've got the handles. So you can do upper body, but it's not the way we suggest doing it. So we just want to show you a couple of things, and then we're going to talk about upper body more in that relevant section. So here you see Agni's in downward dog. It's very easy for her to start using these bottom handles to do some upper body work. So one obvious one is to reach back, take the handles, lift the feet, lift the legs forward. So almost like a kind of flying plank position. Very enjoyable, but generally what happens is people, because there's not really a lot of support for the pelvis, they tend to tilt the pelvis way forward, so really jam the lower back if you're not careful in that position. Another option, so you've really got to use the core. If you're not using the core, people just dip down, gravity dips them down, and it's a bit of a mess, yeah? Another option, triceps, bending the elbows down like this, nice tricep opener. You can wrap the legs around the swing again. Similar issue, you might be able to see it in the video. If you're not using the abdomen, then you will really crunch your lower back. Too much of an arch there. So that's a tricep stretch. And another one is the push-up Cobra position. So you start by pushing down with the hands, you wrap the legs around, and then you try to straighten the arms, pushing straight down, bringing the hands into about hip width apart. So we're not going to go into massive detail about those, because we think there are much better ways to do upper body work that we can talk about with you. Yeah. So, but we just wanted to mention, yes, you can do upper body work. You can incorporate the handles in to downward dog sequences.